I can't hear you.
All right, let's start over again.
Okay.
3, 2, 1. Ni hao, konnichiwa. Dave, welcome to this week. Actually, let me restart that again one more time.
Arigato.
No, let's start over one more time. 3, 2, 1. Konnichiwa. This is This Week in Frax.
Arigato. Arigato.
I'm joined by my Asian-located colleague, DeFi Dave, who is coming off the back of a pretty epic meetup that occurred in
Yeah,
Tokyo. Welcome.
back-to-back events in Tokyo and Hong Kong. Uh, really exciting. First time Asia has really had conferences since COVID, especially in Tokyo and in Hong Kong. Like I said, Tokyo was a really cool week. You could tell the people that have stuck it through the bear, made it to Tokyo, and the quality of their projects show that. It's the people that like stuck around and actually wanted to be here, and you get some really creative things in the pipeline. I wrote it in my article, 4 things that you should be excited for post ETH Tokyo. The ETH Tokyo Frax event was really cool. We threw
I
that
saw
with
the merch.
The merch was fire. The merch was
fire.
Yeah. People have messaged me saying that even airport security has like complimented on their merch. They've been getting a lot of like positive feedback on it. So we have something special going on with Frax merch, the supreme of DeFi merch. But yeah, the Frax event was really cool. We threw it with our friends from UXD, IDEX, Orange DAO, yeah, it was a beautiful venue. It was basically like on this boat, very zen. People from all over the ecosystem, from CT Anons to DeFi degens to VC analysts and everyone in between came and showed up. We were having so much fun. We actually extended the party a few hours. And
When does that ever happen?
I don't know, but it was good because our friends from the Honeycast were there too, and we did an awesome podcast with them post the event, and it was a lot of fun. We all had like a little bit of booze in us, so it was just like we were just all shooting the shit with each other on that podcast. That should be out in like a week or two. I'd like to thank Zor, Spencer, Rainer, everyone who made that event possible. That would have been in a thing without you guys. They really all took the initiative on that. And it was a really good event. We definitely have an in Tokyo for sure, and like definitely want to throw more events there in the future. And then just last night, we threw a DeFi Hong Kong night, a Hong Kong DeFi night here where I'm currently. And Hong Kong is different, but in the best way possible. Like I feel like when I was at the event, being in DeFi wasn't like a gimmicky, esoteric profession like it is in the States or in the West. It's just it's something else that people work in. Like it's not uncommon for people to go from like working in TradFi or in IPOs or in law, and they just like make their way in crypto. They don't see like there being too much of a difference. So it was like nice to be in, feel like respected in my profession, and I didn't have to explain myself. People just got it. Definitely like a very higher caliber audience that I've noticed in the West. Like people actually were like power users of DeFi, whether they were like funds or analysts or just like angel investors and stuff. Like people knew what was going on. Like there weren't a lot of devs. Like I feel like the West has like a lot more of the builders, but like a lot of more of like the users and stuff right here in Hong Kong. And it actually made me super bullish the city, to be honest. Like the users and like we always talk about adoption. Well, if we're gonna find adoption, it's gonna be here in the East, I think. And so it was a really good event. A lot of people came. We planned it super quick. I gotta give a huge shout out to Kate and Hailstone and Bamboo VC, everyone that made this possible. DeFi Cheetah, the DeFi Cheetah really made this happen. Yeah, I met DeFi Cheetah. He's like a little celebrity here. He's definitely like in the scene here. So really, throwing events is fun. It's important to get that in-person feel, and that like doing those in-person, it makes things more real. It's like one thing to like read about it online, Frax online, and trying to like hearsay about it here and there. But it's like another thing to like actually like have an event, meet other Fraxmalists and other people into it. And people were really into, like the people that were into Frax were like really into Frax here. Like people knew that, oh, this is the universal currency logo, like all that. it was really cool. It's like, people understood why, like people understood in Frax of like why it's significant and like everything that they're doing from like the forest to the trees. Like I feel like a lot of people either in the West or even like on Twitter, some people just know of Frax as another LSD, which is like really funny to think about. And in the West, people think still are on the algo stable kind of narrative that is no more. So it's, really promising here in Hong Kong. Very bullish. Like the city wants crypto here. The city like definitely took a hit over the past few years between the political protests and then COVID, where it was super locked down. But now I think mainland China recognizes the power that exists in Hong Kong and like its place in the world as being the store between the East and West, and how important that position is. Like no matter like what you can do, like I don't think Shanghai or other cities in China can ever be like Hong Kong because of the history here. Like I said, being that door between the East and West. So Hong Kong's in a really unique position, and mainland China wants to make Hong Kong like the place for experimentation in crypto, DeFi, and Web3. And they're actually coming out with a Hong Kong dollar stablecoin here in the next few quarters. So that's really exciting stuff. So that's gonna be issued like pretty soon.
It's great to see that the community is global at this point.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. Honestly, it's nuts.
And that there's friends of the show everywhere we go for Flywheel and Frax. Speaking of algorithmic stablecoins, this is a little side note. Friend of the show, Amin, I forget Amin's last name, but Amin Soleimani, the wizard, launched a algorithmic stablecoin today called High, and the token was called Kite, and it's 420. So very on brand.
Yeah. They poked dry. I mean, they told us about that like way back in Denver. High on optimism.
Exactly. So we'll have to have Amin come back on and maybe talk about that at some point. This week was actually pretty crazy when we think about what's happened with Frax. I talked about this with CurveCap this morning on Leviathan, and the big news of the week is that Sam quietly dropped a new Basepool in the Frax Telegram. Just like actually somebody came in and posted a screenshot of the new Basepool. Somebody actually found it, came and dropped it in Telegram and was like, yep, it's up. USDP, there it is. And CurveCap and I were, Garrett and I were talking this morning. Yeah.
It's so funny how nonchalant they do these major moves.
I know.
I mean, it's like it's part of the ethos though of like just keep shipping, don't make things a big deal. Like people will like figure it out organically.
Yeah. And I was talking to Garrett this morning about it, and he was like, yeah, like I saw it in the Curve governance like the past 2 weeks. Like I saw, because he watches all the contracts and the deployments and stuff, and so I think he spotted it, but he just didn't tell us about it. I think he reported about it maybe 2 weeks ago on his thing, but because it had been getting significant Curve rewards in the lead up to it becoming a Basepool. So I'm just surprised. There's something going on with this USDP Frax Basepool. Maybe we can call this like the second Basepool, or we need a nickname for it other than the first one, because they're both Basepools.
Frax PP. Frax PP.
Frax PP. And this one is really interesting. I think maybe it's because of the USDC depeg. Maybe there's been talks that have been happening for a while. We don't know yet, but
it's probably a mix of both.
Yes, I'm gonna go with you there. But there is some stuff brewing with this new Basepool, and if history is to be any guide for us, a couple of months ago, Paxos, who is the creator of USDP, had gone to Maker and proposed to them and said, "Hey, Maker, like we're going to essentially give you interest income from our operations, right? Because like anytime you create a stable coin, Paxos has all this cash that they have to invest into short-term treasuries. And so they said, we're going to give you 45% of this interest income just for having TVL in our stablecoin, right? And we'll give up to $1.5 billion worth of yield for this stablecoin. And MakerDAO actually turned this down. They said they didn't want to. And I don't know. I think they went with I think like Circle and USDC was the other option for them.
Yeah. Interesting.
So it was turned down by Maker, and now all of a sudden, this USDP Paxos dollar pops up as a base pool. So, Dave, what is going on?
I have no idea, to be honest. I wish I had the inside scoop on this, but if I had to speculate, with Frax v3 coming out, and like a reason to get this base pool out to begin with, is there could be some passover to yield to the Frax DAO, or some maybe they have those structures in place and we just don't know about it. Like I said, just speculating here, just going off of what Sam said in the past, or like maybe they want to like hedge their bets, and Paxos is the proper partner to do that.
Well, I'm going to go with the first, right? Because I saw some reporting today on crypto Twitter about, let's say that the USDP pool can get to about the same size that the USDC one is, about $500 million, right? At that point, the interest income should be on that 500 million. It's going to be about 2%. So Frax would get about $10 million a year in interest income going to the DAO, just for creating this new base pool and adding it as an incentive program. And I'm sure that I don't know if they go back to Frax shares holders yet, but a good portion of that interest income is going to go towards vote incentives. Really interesting. Yeah.
It'd be a interesting flywheel taking shape, and we're gonna have to adjust Frax check for this new base pool.
Yes. Maybe the best base pool if we come out of it after the whole USDC depeg. Paxos runs a really tight ship. They're based out of New York, and they're covered by the NYDFS, which clamps down pretty hard on them. So
I'd be interested because now this is like the third base pool in existence. Once CRV-USD goes live, there'll be a decentralized Frax CRV-USD base pool. We talked about that in the Curve Cap interview several months ago. We're still waiting for CRV-USD, but possible.
And it makes sense, right? We've talked about this on the show before, where there's like $1 billion. Well, I don't know how much USDC we have at the moment. Maybe $600 or $700 million at the moment in the treasury, and then the supply of Frax is about $1 billion. And what that means is that there's a shit ton of interest income that Circle just keeps for itself, right? We're talking like $40 to $50 million worth of interest income that Circle just gets to have for Frax being in existence, and that really doesn't make sense. Like I don't understand it. So I think the competitive landscape for stablecoins is definitely going to change over the next few years, where the new entrants are going to have to compete for protocols. They're going to have to compete for these DAOs by paying them a good portion of that interest income back to the DAOs for essentially like bootstrapping their business and
as
ensuring,
as
they should.
I just wonder how much volume is going to happen on the Frax PP pool.
I think a lot. I think the yield's going to be very high. Because let's just assume that it gets its typical vote incentives. So the vote incentives now get split between Frax Basepool and the Frax USDP pool. But obviously, there's no governance yet, so we don't have a vote on those vote incentives. And this might be politically contentious as well too. And this is maybe why Sam's kept it under wraps, right? Because there's been an authorization for the Frax Basepool to devote a specific amount of incentives towards that pool, and I wonder where the political capital is for existing LPs to essentially authorize the Frax base pool to take a lower yield to subsidize this other pool that is, or this new base pool, right?
Yeah, that's a good point. Well, I guess the gauges will decide. The voters will decide.
This could be very contentious, right? We might be heading towards our first real big political dust up.
I wasn't like the collateral ratio is kind of it, but I guess that was pretty easy to figure out.
Yeah, actually, I believe there's only been one vote, which has been pretty tight, where C2TP voted against it.
Oh, that's the Kyber swap one.
The Kyber swap one. That's really been only the really politically tenuous vote that we've had in the existence of Frax, right? For the most part, everyone's kind of signed on to and it makes sense in a growth company, right? Like you're signed on to Sam's vision. We haven't ossified yet, and there's not really established players, but now we have one. The Frax Basepool has been in existence for over a year now, and there's it's the largest base pool on Curve, and it's got like $400 million worth of liquidity and $500 million worth of liquidity, and now we have a new entrant. So maybe potentially some of that interest income will go to fund the base pool, and then the vote incentives don't have to be shifted at first, and it can grow into size and maturity, and then we can have that vote later on. So we'll see.
We'll see.
So maybe that's why the team has been quiet over the past few days, and they just like let it be found out, because maybe they're still kind of like working the back channels to try to curry political favor as this thing comes out. The other big news of the week was the launch of the official launch of the WETH replacement program on Curve. So all those yields that we talked about previously, all those LP pools that we talked about previously 2 weeks ago are now live. The yields today were pretty insane, but the TVLs weren't like spectacular. Everything was under $1 million, right? But TVLs in the triple and quadruple digits for the first few hours. When I took the screenshot coming into this, most of the pools were still in the high triple digits, so like 250%, somewhere like SETH. frxETH was at 734% for a full boost. So pretty awesome. Actually, the Alchemist ETH frxETH pool is getting quadruple digit yield right now. It's pretty crazy.
So this is just frxETH. It's just like pairing with frxETH.
Yeah. And I was thinking about it today as whether these frxETH LPs will get gauges, but I don't think so. Like if the incentive program is running for WETH replacement, or the WETH replacement incentive program is running, there's part of the Ethereum rewards which are already being diverted into these pools. So like they don't really need a gauge since they already have incentives.
So I remember they talked about possibly having like a ETH base pool with like frxETH. I guess like they just decided, oh, we want to just replace WETH, so let's do frxETH. Yeah.
But like it just makes more sense, right? To just create all these pairs. Because like, why do you need an ETH? What do you need an ETH frxETH, right? Because there's already ETH frxETH, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So this makes more sense. I guess they could, right? If they wanted to, but maybe they looked at the dynamics of the pools and just said, oh, hey, let's just make it simple.
Yeah.
So that's launched, right? And we'll be tracking this actually in FraxCheck to see how this affects liquidity. And you know what? Speaking of liquidity, we're gonna hamstring the news for next week. Can we just talk about the frxETH supply for a second?
Yeah. How is it doing?
It's at 152 fucking thousand.
Wait, it just like jumped up 30K?
Yeah. So what is today? The 20th.
20K.
Yeah. So
wow, that's a giant bump.
1 week ago, we were at 134,850.
Yeah, 20K.
Yeah, in 1 week. It's a 13% change. Remember how we were always like pretty impressed with like the double-digit week-on-week change?
Yeah.
Back at it.
I mean, like we were expecting this after Chapella, because at once people could unstake and move around, they're gonna go to where the highest yield is. And for LSDs, that's frxETH. So pretty simple, straightforward.
Yeah. So we're rapidly closing in on Rocket Pool now.
The flippening.
Exactly. Getting to number two is going to be easy, and then it's going to be a battle with Lido. So, I had a chat with Drake.
Yeah.
When we did the Frax, when we actually talked about the Chapella thing, and we talked about some of the upcoming changes to frxETH for their V2. I don't think people really understand what's coming, because it's going to be incredible, right?
They basically like blowing out frxETH, right?
Well, it's just there's some changes that are coming that completely restructure how frxETH works and how it's created, and it's it's going to I think it's going to make Frax look the best out of all the LSD stablecoins, just in how it's created and how it's run.
Not even the main products.
Not even no, for like all the ETH based stable LSDs, right? I think our having talked to Drake about it, I think you can make an argument that it will be better than anybody else.
I mean, that's a pretty bold statement because I feel like it is better than everyone else already in its current form. So I'm very interested to see what the improvements will be.
Well, I mean, look, in its current form, you have the team that's running a set of all the validator nodes, right? And so that's what's changing with V2. And in V2, the team will run nothing, right? And so there's some significant changes coming. Let me see if I actually talked about it last week. I'm gonna run through it while we talk some more. But yeah, I think we could be sitting at 3 to 4 million Frax by the end of the year. Because actually, I will say one thing. So one thing that is built into frxETH v2 is this really easy ability to leverage your as a node operator, inherently through frxETH. So one of the big complaints that I've had so far is why is there no stake frxETH lending market? But the upcoming changes, leverage is going to be a core part of the frxETH structure. So it's going to be very cool.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. I think I posted some screenshots last week. Paul asked, Sam said that this is what V2 is all about. Anyone being able to borrow ETH and run a frxETH or validator. And just some more stuff about it. But they haven't said that much, but there's a ton that's coming and it's going to be super bullish. I don't even know what I'm more bullish upon. Is the Frax getting interest income from Frax v3 or the frxETH v2 update?
That is a good question.
It is a good question. Actually, I asked this in chat. Let's go see. I'm gonna pull this up. What are you most excited about for the upcoming updates?
God, that's hard. I'd say V3 because it's more of a mystery.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean V3 is an upgrade / overhaul to the protocol, and we saw with V2 how revolutionary that was with AMOs, and you can only speculate what V3 is going to be with with what Sam said of new backing beyond USDC, and what he's talked about with on-chain governance. You said something about on-chain governance in the chat this morning that I actually just shared on Twitter. I think that's super promising because one of the biggest complaints I've seen online from our good friend Monet Supply has been governance and how it's not on chain. But I think what they came up with their optimistic implementation of it module is a good way to move forward.
So I did a quick poll in chat where I asked, "What are you most excited about? Frax v3, frxETH v2." FraxSwap v2 and Borrow AM together, the FPI cap going up, and Frax BTC. And the clear winner was Frax v3. People are very excited about that. And then number 2 was frxETH v2, and then FraxSwap and the Borrow AMM, and then FPI.
Borrow AMM is underrated because once that comes out, then that will be a significant increase in circulating supply of Frax. Being able to create any lending market for any asset Oracle free in a safe manner, that's the dream. That's the X times Y equals K of lending markets.
Yeah, honestly, I think that we could probably piece together the roadmap at this point here at Flywheel.
Yeah, that would be a good blog post. Really honestly, that would be speculated roadmap of Frax.
Well, they've dropped bits and tidbits here. There's a lot out there that's been dropped already. But the Frax v3 is going to be really good. Maybe it's tied in with this Paxos.
That's what I'm thinking.
There are no such there's no such thing as coincidences. So excited to see what's coming. There is so much on the roadmap right now, and hopefully one day we actually get a full disclosure of everything that's happening on the roadmap.
Soon, TM.
Soon, TM. So moving on to the next thing that happened this week, we're going to talk about governance. So the first governance thing is actually Dave's hackathon. Congratulations,
Yeah.
Dave. It passed.
Oh my God, that took my heart kind of stopped trying to get that passed because it came up down to the wire. But I was able to talk to some members of the community that helped get it through. I'm really excited about this because I think it's really important to start cultivating a developer community around Frax. Every protocol that is successful, whether it's Bitcoin, Ethereum, they cultivate this like developer community that wants to build around said protocol. And it's obvious people like love keeping track of Frax. Hell, we saw that with we're going to talk about the FXS tax one coming up, but we need to like bootstrap and like get that spark going for that. And having a hackathon, there's so much left that needs to be built. The core team can only do so much because they're just focusing on the core tenets of the protocol. Whether it's the stablecoins or the primitives, but like it's gonna be really cool with this hackathon. I've already been in contact with the team. They're coming up with ideas and tracks for people to follow as we speak. And we're going to have information about that soon. And I'd like to thank everyone that came out to support this one because it's going to be a really cool event and it's going to be the first of many hackathons to come.
Yeah. And, as the product becomes more mature, it's up to, builders like you at home that are listening to or watching this show to go out and build on top of Frax because, Frax is just a tool, it's infrastructure. And it'll come down to some very smart builders going out and actually making something with it for it to grow.
And like the thing that the Sam and the Frax team care about the most is just people building and putting in the work. They really practice what they preach. And when it comes, you don't hear them talk, you just hear them ship. And like they pay attention to those who ship. And so, I think like once we see people shipping on top of Frax, you're going to get a lot of fruitful conversation and discussion, constructive discussion happening within the community. It's going to be really promising, really bullish.
Yeah. So another big governance item that is has been an ongoing theme in this show has been the deprecation, or at least a rage quit for the stake DAO frxETH put pool unlock, or whatever you want to call it. This was a strategy that was run by StakeDAO. It was deprecated, and now there's just money sitting there. It's not under any threat. It's actually earning a small yield. I believe it's earning 4% in its current state. But the de facto rule for rage quits has now become that if you want to rage quit, you have to pay back every single FXS at the current price that it was paid out. In order to get that rage quit. And so a extremely smart and hyper detailed Frax.
Yeah. Shout out Luke.
Shout out Luke.
Or Lucas. Lucas or Luke?
Lucas. I think it's Lucas. Yeah.
Sorry,
and
Lucas.
You really put some effort into this. I'm going to vote yes just because of the amount of effort that you put into it. And I think that you should probably get a lower rate for the amount of work that you did.
No, I agree. Like, I mean, this has been such a contentious issue in the Frax community, are these rage quits. And Sam said, himself, like, oh, you got to pay back all the FXS. And somebody actually went out, did those calculations. And I think it's more than fair that they pay, set rate that was concluded. Maybe have someone double check it just to make sure. But, I think, this is like where we want to see. It's kind of the same way with the hackathon. We want people building on top of Frax. Like the fact that people like care Frax in this manner to go in and meticulously go through, like comb over every little detail of emissions. That says a lot about the community and the protocol. And, it'll be nice to put this issue to bed and this becomes the standard for rage quits in the future.
Yeah. So he actually went back and he calculated. So the way that Frax FXS emissions work is that there's epochs. So there's like a cycle. And he went all the way back from to March 29th, 2023, and calculated the average price of Frax share distributed in each of these week cycles for like all the weeks. Actually, no, it goes much further back. I'm looking now. He went all the way back to January 26, 2022, and calculated over a year's worth of Frax share emissions for this pool to come up with a pretty approximate figure on how much Frax was paid out, and what the rage quit fee should be. So he's proposing that this pool should be unlocked for a 7.5% rage quit fee, which he says at the current value more than covers the Frax emissions to the remaining TVL. So hopefully, I'm sure this will put us over the line. There's so much that went into this. This is very, very great. There's some other news this week in governance. The 4626 Alliance has asked Frax to allocate $4,000 to contribute to the 4626 Alliance efforts. This alliance has been funded by Imstable, Aztec, Balancer, Superform, and various other DeFi protocols to further the adoption of the ERC 4626 standard. This standard, notably, is used in the frxETH vaults, which is a core part of the two-token structure that Frax uses in its frxETH model.
Hell yeah. This is I guess, what does the money go towards? So
the money, the Alliance has raised $40,000 in commitments so far, right? They're asking for a contribution of $3,000 to $5,000, so essentially $4,000, to join these efforts. And the goal is to make the vast majority of DeFi compatible with 4626 and become a first-line resource for developers to build vaults going forward.
So like just the standardization.
Yeah. So it's promoting the 4626 vaults, and just taking a look at their website right now. Yeah, so it's got a bunch of different things on here, and essentially I think it's just working towards standardization across the entire industry. Looks pretty good.
Nice.
Yeah.
We support standardization.
Yeah, this one should get passed. I mean, this is for the ecosystem, and it's tools that we're already using. So
yeah, it makes our lives easier and like increases composability and money Legos.
Exactly. So there's a bunch more stuff in the emails that get sent out. I have a bunch of screenshots. Unfortunately, Elon rugged Substack, I believe 2 weeks ago, and I'm no longer able to embed Twitter links in there. So maybe we'll have some screenshots for the non-threads. But there's a bunch more in there. I know, so petty. It'd be nice, but my biggest gripes with Substack, and we'll eventually move off of that to Ghost, but they don't allow video embedding. So the only way to embed videos is with like TikTok or like YouTube or something, and it's not the best.
Yeah, we'll be off it soon enough.
Yeah. So that's going to wrap it up for this week. Lots actually going on. If you're not, reading the Frax Telegram, like we got you covered. Yeah, we got you covered. Make sure to sign up for the Substack. Actually, signing up for the Substack is really important, right? It's one of the main metrics that how we kind of view the success of Flywheel. So please come and join. Also, come find us on YouTube. You probably listen to us on YouTube. That's where we get the majority of people coming to listen to Flywheel. And even if you listen on YouTube, come to your favorite podcast link. That's either Spotify or Apple or whatever place you listen to your podcast at, and subscribe. Actually, just subscribe. Let it download. That helps us as well to get higher in the rankings and for more people to find out about Frax. So that's going to wrap it up for this week. Dave, do you have anything else?
Yeah. For anyone that wants to get involved in the Frax community, we're running a Frax educational incentives program. If you're a
How does that work, Dave?
Yeah, pretty simple. We have a form up. We'll put the link below. Whether you're a threader, you're creating an infographic, you're writing like an article for beginners or more of an advanced article, or even a dashboard, that has to do with Frax, you create it, submit it. There are certain guidelines that we're going off of for those who qualify for the reward. Rewards range from like $500 of FXS $250 of FXS to $1,500 of FXS, depending on what you create. We're doing this on a rolling basis monthly. And the current epoch is going till May 11th. And so, get those submissions in. We have quite a few now, but we would love to see more. So, it's worth the effort. And we're going to do a big highlight at the end of the month. So
that sounds great. Yeah. We'll be sharing those out as an example to anybody else who wants to come in and make educational content around Frax or build some Dune dashboards. That was an important part of the vote as well too. That's going to wrap it up for this week. Dave, where can people find you? Let's lead us out.
You can find me on Twitter at DeFiDave22.
And I'm at Traders_Insight.
And we'll see you next week. Peace.